Welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. We're coming to you on a Monday morning drive safe day where we had just a little touch of summertime.
Well, it was a good spring. It's not quite summer, but I'll tell you what, it was warm. Some might even call it hot if they were outside working in the yard.
Yeah, it was. We got into the 90s. Of course, we're talking to those here in Texas alone, but it was pretty good weather across the country today, over the weekend. Listen, when we see that weather, we talked about it over the weekend as well. When we start seeing the warmer weather, it doesn't mean you can relax a little bit at all. Again, there's going to be more people on the road. You're going to see some campers. Again, we're now going to see some of those folks that are in their second year now of owning a camper and probably taking it out for the third time.
The third time and probably the last time. After the third time and they get some of that action and they understand that they got to clean out the poopy, and they got to do all the other stuff that's required on a trailer, and then they get and usually by trip 3 you get that weird pull, that scary moment, that stop too quick, that whatever that is where the trailer pushes the car or pushes the truck and you get a little bit scary, and then they're like, I don't want any more of that. But yeah, you got to be careful of all those snowbirds out there running around.
Yeah, and again, if you're looking for that, I'm going to tell you, Dave, it's almost the season for that. However, look at the top. Do a pre-trip, even if you go out and buy you a new camper, because they see sometimes that they're not used to the big vehicle, Dave. They don't pay attention to the bridges. They keep going, and sometimes they may rub the top of that bridge just a tad. Drive safe, Dave. Talk to us about the sign.
Yeah, this is a sign that you'll see at clearance sign that demonstrates what the dimension is of the clearance that you're fixing to go under. This one right here is not safe for a truck. So this one, if you see it, be careful of running under. Go around, stop. Don't go under, but yeah, you got to make sure that you understand not only what's in front of the obstacles in front of you, the obstacles to the side of you, but also this demonstrates the obstacles above you.
Yeah, and it's 12'6". So again, when you see that, definitely you're not going to make it. Don't go too slow and just get out and look at it. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to fit. Hey, drive safe. We had the MATS, the Mid-America Truck Show, Louisville, Kentucky. Lots of activity going on there. And I don't know if you saw this, but surprise, surprise, the number one issue from truck drivers at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, truck parking.
Yeah, it's not going away. I mean, just because it's not going to go away. It is the number one issue. We continue to talk about it. It is, make sure you get your voice heard as we sit here and discuss it. And we've talked about it. Man, you need to get out and you need to get your voice heard, whether your legislature or whomever it is you need to talk to. But somebody needs to understand the severity and the necessariness of this problem.
Yeah, we have the ATA, we have OIDA, we have the TCA, every organization fighting for that parking. One spot out of for every 11 drivers out there, just not enough parking. We talk about productivity loss, and we also talk about the safety of a driver. And Dave, it was even talked about in many of the articles that we saw from Matt's, was this right here, that when people park in an unsafe area, they don't get good rest. And many of them just won't park there. They'll continue to drive to try to find a safer place to park, or once again shut down early to secure that spot.
Either way, it's non-productive and it's unsafe. I mean, you're looking at two issues as we talk about it. It's something that we got to continue to understand. I don't think every legislature out there, and I don't think everyone truly gets it unless you're in the industry or having had talk to or know somebody that's had to do it. Because I'll tell you what, parking on the side of the road can be scary. It can be absolutely scary, and hearing the vehicles rush by really quick. Even on a ramp, you're still nervous about who's going to run into you and stuff like that. So setting out your triangles and all that other stuff, it gets scary.
Hey, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Many of us have thought that. Many of us have said it. But, Dave, there's a difference when, say, Sir Rick says it and the president says it.
Yeah, you talk about it, oops. So therefore, if you say...
But we've all thought it.
We have all thought it.
We've all
trust
said
me,
it, probably.
many people have thought it. However, open policy, open politics, you want to be able to negotiate. And by saying that, you are closing the line of negotiation. I mean, I'm not dealing with you. You got to go. So I don't think it was meant. I don't. That
It was
wasn't
a
even
pure ad lib. No, it was the very end of the speech. It was, maybe he got caught up in his own emotion. You know what? Everybody is cheering. Everybody's
woo! That's a great speech.
Let me just throw this last one in, and oh my God! It was all over the news the entire weekend.
Yeah, and they were
now there's
scrambling.
no war, there's no COVID, there's only what it said. It's amazing what happens on the latest news.
I'm telling you how important it is what you say in public, especially for the leader of the free world. It is necessary that you watch. Stick to the script.
Yeah, I know. All you had to do is read.
Stick to the script.
That's not time for fake news.
His aides all heard that and started scrambling, and everybody was like, "Well, that's not exactly what he meant. He meant that he didn't be talking about he shouldn't bring free power in Ukraine."
That was Biden pretty much slapping old
Putin on the face.
Right in the face. Much like we saw in yesterday's Grammy Awards. Did you see that?
Oscars,
there you go. Whatever. Nobody watched it except for this. This will make you watch it.
Wow. Richard. Oh, wow.
Wow.
I'd have cut that before he dropped, I think, an F-bomb.
He dropped a few F-bombs at that from the front row of the chair right there. Will Smith pounds Chris Rock for talking about his wife, making a joke about his wife who's going through some balding. I guess she's going to be in G.I. Jane 2, or made reference to that movie, something like that. Boy, let me tell you something. He didn't like it. Will Smith, I mean, it was bad, Drive Safe Dave. I don't think that was acting either. I think that was 100% legit. And Chris Rock was shocked. Oh, yeah. He didn't even know how to come back from that.
Yeah, he said wow twice. He was like, oh my God, that dude just smacked me. Will, and if you watch it, he hit him. I mean, he definitely smacked him good. And he apologized afterwards, apologized to the Academy, but he never directly apologized to Chris Rock.
I think he said, love will make you do some crazy things. And Drive Safe Dave.
Is that okay? Does that make it okay?
I'm not saying it, but it is the new answer for 2022.
Okay, hold on.
Is love will make you do some crazy things.
I don't need that kind of love. Sir Rick, don't give me any of that kind of loving. I'm out. If you're trying to give me some of that love, I'm totally backing off. We need to go.
But what if I cry afterwards and just say, love will make you do some crazy things?
Negative.
Doesn't it make it okay? Listen, we're going to come back and we have some more news. Yes, weekend news from Drive Safe Dave, Sir Rick, and the producer. Let's talk a little bit about Vegas and some of the stories now that we're all back together again. In 60 seconds, we'll see you back. BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. ACT Research, they are some BCB Live contributors as well. Can I say that now? They've been, contributor. They've done it once, so they've been part of the show. Anyway, they came in, Drive Safe Dave, talked about volume and pricing decreasing while the capacity increases. And we've been speaking about that, and we're starting to see the numbers. Everybody else kind of comes out, and once we say it on BCB Live, we all follow the trend. But Dave, let's talk about that for a second. We talk about the decrease. What does that mean?
Well, to me, the decrease is what we're talking about. Is we're talking about not as much freight moving.
Yep.
And what freight is moving is already being gobbled up by the big guys. They're not rejecting it, so they're gobbling up less freight out there on the open market available for everybody to go out and bid. But
more capacity. That means after January, we see about 10th, 15th, 17th. Yeah. We get most people coming back from vacation. It's been, we know this, that the biggest vacation period is between Christmas and about the 15th, the middle of January.
Correct.
People are starting to come back. That's the capacity. Capacity is the trucks available to pick up the freight, but we're seeing less tonnage, And because of that, you're going to see less price on that spot market side.
Yeah, and because there's more trucks competing for the same freight, and because there's more trucks competing for the same freight, you're going to have less. It's going to be less rate. The rate's going to be lower.
For certain. And we go back again. We're going to just look at this one more time. We look at the orange. That's the diesel price, Dave. And we're going back. Let's just go back the last 6 months so we can see what we're seeing. We're seeing a 54% increase in the diesel pricing. That's your price out there on the spot market. Again, want to make sure we understand. Dave, what they were saying is we see a 16% decrease in freight being shipped out right now over the last 6 months. Okay, so 6 months ago to today, 16% decrease. This green at negative 34, that's the rejection freight. So we want to make sure you know this. Your freight volume's going down. That means your rejections are also going to go down. Dave, they're down to 34%. And when that goes down, the amount of trucks continue to come up. People getting out of vacation, starting to work again. Well, that's going to lead to that price in that spot market over the last 6 months down 4%. So big time decreases on that. And if we back it up to the last 3 months, we can see the pricing falling 8%. So big drops in all of those, Dave. And you know, you can call it's a decrease of freight. We know that part.
Yeah, I will tell you that this morning I checked. Oil is at $110 a barrel this morning, so it's still relatively extremely high.
So when it stays extremely high, again, the volatility. It's not just that. It's the fuels as well. We saw that with the John Kingston, the freight or the oil expert and fuel expert from. The oil and fuel expert from FreightWaves, he spoke with us while we were in Vegas,
right,
going over the fuel, the fluctuation, how that really does affect the trucking company. When prices of the fuel remain strong, remain consistent, how about that? Well, you know what? For the trucking company, it allows us to get the fuel, charge it back over a certain period of time. It does not, however, positively affect or positively increase the cash to the open market, to the independent contractor running on the spot market.
Just the opposite. It actually takes away from their cash flow when they have to spend more for fuel and don't recover those costs, those fuel surcharges that are built into contracts with customers. So they actually suffer a great deal. That's cash right out of their pocket. And not only that, let's look at it on a bigger wider scale. When it is at $110 a barrel, people across the country we have a large inflation, aren't used to inflation like we've had in over 30 years. They're very cautious how they spend their money. They're worried, right? They're very worried about how to buy their next gallon of fuel and how to pay for the next grocery bill. And when they do that, they buy less goods. Yep. And when they buy less goods, guess what? You don't ship as many.
Yeah, when the CPI continues to go up, the Consumer Price Index year over year, when that increases how it is, that's telling us is that, you know, what you spent X amount on last year, you're now having to spend this amount, right, considerable more for that same basket of goods. And we've seen that from, you know, the producer, the PPI as well, the same thing. We see year over year, they're able to charge a lot more than they were a year ago. Now I'm going to tell you the odd part that I want us to make sure we also understand is that pricing today, if you go back a year ago, okay, it is actually higher. The spot market price is still higher than it was a year ago, right? It was like, you know, if you're looking at this at the same degree, it was $247 versus like $277 today, rate per mile. That's all in on the spot market side. If you look at that, it's still higher than it was a year ago. I mean, so that tells you that the market has room. It's going to come back down. I'm going to say that price you're seeing right now, expect it to come down probably another 2 to 3% this week over, you know, from last week.
What's warehousing inventory?
Warehouse is very strong. You know, we've seen
the
warehouse come back.
Or is it?
No, it's getting more full.
Okay,
considerably more full than it was last year. You think about that as well. It's the same thing. You know, all of a sudden now you're sitting on inventory because we overbought finally, right? We started.
So do you think that's why freight volumes have gone down? Is because the warehouses have filled back up?
It's capacity. Well, it's just capacity and volume. So it's there's more trucks and there are loads being shipped out. There's just not as much freight being shipped out.
I'm just saying people ordering less. Ordering less.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at.
When your warehousing is full again, as opposed to a year ago, you're not shipping out loads, emergency loads, meaning a quarter full or half full.
Correct.
You now, because you're sitting on that inventory, you're filling up the trailer.
Yep.
And you're able to ship out a full truckload as opposed to last year when we talked about that, many trailers leaving out 65, 70% full.
Correct. And also production levels weren't as where they needed to be, because we were still having shortages in labor and they still weren't shipping out. They still weren't able to even fulfill the full truckloads on the production line like they are. They're getting better to also fulfill those truckloads on the production line. But I will tell you that even though we talk about it today, that higher fuel price is crushing that even though the spot market rate is up, that higher fuel price is still pounding on the contractor that doesn't have the fuel surcharge protection.
Yeah, and from a shipper, those that are doing the bids out right now, we believe that we may start seeing some more RFPs come out. Again, and all that's going to do, though, is reduce the spot market side. I don't expect those long year contracted rates to really change much. They are what they are. They're still limited capacity. Let's face it. At the end of the day,
right.
We're still, there's not a lot of trucks coming out. We're still all on allocation on the trucks we can. Who's going to start receiving the trailers, Dave? They think that's a big player right there, is that we continue to see the trailer orders climb, right? They've been pretty high year over year. We're not seeing the same thing on the trucks, though.
No, trailers are a big deal this year, and trailers are going to continue to be a big deal. I think that we're also looking at even more so, I think companies are even looking bigger than ever at that drop and hook freight, that companies, especially the larger companies, they are even taking and targeting that even more so than ever before. And when we see these warehouses fill up and they're going to start utilizing these trailers as warehousing, correct? I mean, they'll use that in a little bit better capacity.
Yeah, yes and no. I don't know if they, I don't know. I mean, I think that's the story to tell. How many more warehouses get complete first? And again, I think trucking companies have placed value on the trailers right now.
I agree.
And so I do think that warehousing companies they're going to have to find other ways because, what the trucking companies also learned was how to start charging for keeping those trailers full. So there no longer is that trailer a free storage unit like it was 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago. Those are now chargeable, items. I'm going to charge you for that warehouse.
That's correct.
No matter what. Hey, let's talk some favorite moments from Vegas. If we can kind of go back a week ago now. Jack, you're back. What was some highlights from you on the Vegas trip?
I think the John Kingston interview was great. You guys just sitting down and talking about freight volumes. Let's see, what else did we do?
What did you think about you had a lot of people stopping by checking out your side, right? The production and a lot of folks in all the technology of BCB Live.
Yeah, no, I think we were the only ones out there actually live streaming. Video. There were people doing audio broadcasting, but nothing like what we were doing out there.
Yeah, I will say we were one of a kind out there. Great job on that, Dave. What about you? Anything that just stick out from Vegas?
Yeah, I had two things. Number one was obviously the interviews of the best truck drivers that we got a chance to just talk to the truck drivers there, the owner-operators of the year, Gene, and those guys.
Producer, did you see that Gene actually won?
Yeah, we did.
That was cool.
We stayed. I think it was Dalen and I, and Stuart. Stuart was our assistant. He helped, or our camera guy.
Did you get a chance to go over there and say hi to him?
No, we sat right next to him.
Oh, awesome, man! So that was cool to have him, and then we interviewed the winner. That was a great highlight.
Yeah, I like that. And also,
how was the acceptance speech? Hold on a second. How did that go? I heard those were pretty. Some of them were kind of emotional, as I would.
They were really emotional. Thanking their wives and thanking the company. I think we sat next to. What was it? I think it was Prime Inc., one of their drivers. Their whole team was pretty ecstatic that their driver won.
As they should be.
No doubt about it.
As they should be. And I'm proud of that. And the other thing I really liked, and you talked about not only the production that we had, I really enjoyed talking to people right there by the booth that wanted to know more about BCB Live and what it is and what we were doing there and what we're about. And when you start talking about safety, and then you start and you're excited about it, you know what? They were listening. I mean, they were interested in what was going on, and I was excited to tell the story. I was excited to talk about safety and what it can mean for the company and what it can mean for you and every person.
The only thing we struggled with is while everyone was watching and engaged, we were doing the show.
Yeah.
So we couldn't explain it to anyone what we do.
I know. Things you learn about. So next time next time we have that part figured out, we're gonna have to take 1 or 2 more bodies. Yeah, I didn't think that. We would have the one piece we didn't think about. But yeah, right.
Nobody how do we explain it while we're doing?
Because we were doing our job. Because we were doing our jobs, and it, when I did mine by myself, Rick was out talking, and when Rick did with John, I was out talking, and it made it a lot better. It made it a lot.
You needed to be able to tell the story, what goes on. But I tell you, it was exciting to see the energy around safety, and there's no doubt about it. And I'm a big believer that we had to have had the hottest spot going on, and we were kind of out of the way.
We were.
I think next year, Jack,
we were in the corner somewhere. We were in the corner. Well, okay.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah, but see, if we go in the middle, it just gets a little bit more expensive with the cabling and all that, the drop downs, and
good point. Well,
makes my life a little bit more difficult. We don't have to be in the middle.
I'm thinking, you know what, Drive Safe Day, we talked about this. I think that, you know what, we should promote the amount of people we had next to us walking through and make somebody pay us to get next to them.
Okay, I'll tell you. Oh, yeah, you mean the people sitting in the booths next to them? Well, we had the TCA actually on one side. We couldn't really make them pay because it was their conference. But I will tell you that we sat down when we first started doing the production. We started the first interview, Rick and I, and Rick was like, "Oh no, you can't sit there, Dover. You're going to have to move over here."
I don't know how many voices. So we had to switch places because Dave was like sitting where he is now. I was over here. However, Dave was facing this way, like towards the conference, and everybody was turning around, and he wasn't even on fire yet. He was just.
I wasn't even excited yet. I was just talking, and everybody was like, "Oh no, you can't sit there."
Everybody looking at us. We had to bring him around, switch places so he was facing the TCA folks and the wall, kind of an open space there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, they would have heard you. It'd have been like in stereo throughout that whole room.
Yeah,
a lot of vendors, though, a lot of excitement. You had and Dave and Jack. I mean, there was so many things there based on safety.
Oh, it was
health.
Unbelievable.
You know, not just the safety technology, about food, about exercise, all of those things that go along with it.
Yeah, I was amazed that, and if you went. Every tagline, so as you went by booths and as you talked to them, every time, they hit their high points, like what are the things that makes this product or whatever it was so important. And every one of them in there, either if it was number 1, number 2, or number 3, it mentions safety. It was safety for the drivers, safety for the people on the road, or for whatever reason, it mentioned safety. And I was excited that every single booth that we went to, one of their biggest concern was always safety. And I think that was great. And so it actually promoted the conversation around the room about safety.
Yeah, we're going to try to get Carrier's Edge on the show coming up as well. And they were the ones that did the best fleets to drive for. And those are exciting times. They're exciting interviews to watch what some of these companies have done. And these companies that have won these awards, there's not many companies that have been around 3, 4, 5 years. These are companies that have worked many years as a company, owner-operator-based company, but they've been around for a long time, and go back and research that information to come back and find out what can I do to be a better company for not just our drivers, but for the contractors as well, for the office folks. It really does go into a lot, with a lot of emphasis being put on driver turnover.
Yeah, and I was amazed at the amount of years that a lot of these companies year over year are voted in as best
they've
company.
opened up a hall of fame for these folks. I mean, many companies have won it for 10 years in a row, so you weren't ever going to win it. I mean, once you've been around, you've won it, you figured out figured out the math or whatever, the algorithm that turns that whole thing on.
Okay, everybody needs to answer question 4.
Exactly.
This way, everybody needs to answer question 5, hit C.
I thought about that too. I wonder if companies have gotten, where, hey, these are the same 50 drivers that answered it last year. We're going to answer it again this year. To say the most.
And they did have,
things.
what was neat is they had them broken into two categories, large companies and small companies. And it was surprising to me that some of the large companies were doing extremely well over 10 years at a time and doing, great job. And I was excited to also see that small companies were recognized too, different from the large companies, right? I mean, even the guys that have 25 trucks, right?
Yeah.
I think
and a couple things they all had in common. Number one, I think, above anything, was the love, okay, not the like, the love they had for their drivers.
Absolutely.
The love, and you could hear it in the ownership that would come up and win that award. You could hear the love, the passion that the owners had for them. And then probably right there next to it was safety, Dave, and how they did everything to make sure that they're getting their drivers back home for that event, back home for that special day off, recognizing the champions and the heroes, because there's probably, the folks that recognize the heroics that you did during COVID and the years following the COVID, it's your industry, right? It's the shippers, the receivers, and the trucking companies that understand that what you did was phenomenal. We couldn't have made it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, every single one of them, the first thing they thanked was the drivers. The first part, when they got up there and they talked about how wonderful the drivers were, and they didn't go to and they did thank their staff, but they also thanked their staff for being good to their company, yes. and I really appreciated those. It was nice to have those awards given out. Usually when you hear awards, you're like, yeah, let's get on to the meat. But I'll tell you, hearing that kind of stuff and listening to those people talk about what they do for their company and how well they treat their drivers, I just was amazed at the length, the longevity of those companies doing that.
Yeah, and when we go back and we just jump right back to Gene, for example, who won the independent contractor, Independent Operator of the Year award. This is his fourth time being nominated.
Unbelievable.
This is the company, again, Prime, that stuck with him and said, once again, this is the best we have, and we believe he's the best you have. It showed on the final day that indeed Gene was the number one independent operator. You know what? That is I just can't imagine. I mean, you're the best.
Yeah,
number one.
And when we interviewed him, it was great. He's a great character, and he's fun to talk to. When we got him on the air, he all of a sudden he's humble, right? The first person he attributes his success to is his wife, and then he talks about how being safe is important. And I'll tell you, it was nice talking to those guys on the air and off the air. I had a lot of fun interviewing, and I had a lot of fun talking to them away from the camera too.
Drive safe, Dave. We didn't get a chance to share the phrase that pays with them. But you know what? You don't have that excuse, because we're going to share it with you right now. Dave Dover, give us that phrase that pays.
Listen to the safety show, do your part, and help our safety streaks grow.
One more time, and make sure you follow those periods in there as well, please.
Listen to the safety show, do your part, and help our safety streaks grow.
Talk to us. What does that mean?
You know what? You can tune in right here. By tuning in right here, you're going to continue to add to your knowledge, add to your awareness of what being safe is out there. And by doing that, you're going to continue to add to your personal safety streak.
All right. More coming up next. We have Buckle Up Bob with your weather and your traffic reports only on BCB Live,
the safest station in the nation.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. I am Buckle Up Bob, and we're going to get you started off with a little bit of traffic. And we're going to start with the DFW area. We'll start over in Fort Worth, and it looks typical, I guess. You know, it may be even a little bit better. 35W does not have the traffic as of yet, so it's basically concentrated to the downtown area inside of the loop by Fort Worth. And again, always up here, there's construction and this merge point as you go northbound. You're going to have some problems here on the 820 loop. So again, just kind of typical areas that you just take your time, be patient, and you'll be okay. 30 eastbound, always a problem as you go into Arlington area. And same down here on the southern part on 20 running east. You know, that Sunfield is tough this morning. So again, when we get that sun heading east, you've got to slow your speed down, right? Your sight is going to be compromised. Make sure you have some sunglasses, prescriptions. Hey, if it's too expensive to get the prescription ones that automatically change for you, just get a little $10, $15 clip on them, right? You're still looking through your prescriptions, but you can help with reducing that sun field just a little bit. It is dangerous this morning in the DFW area. As we look at Dallas, right? 635, always a problem. Some dark red, which usually means an accident. Same thing down here at 67 and 20 split. You've got some dark red there just as you approach it. So probably, again, an accident there as well. Otherwise, it's typical 20 on the westbound side. You've got as you approach the loop and also 175 coming in from the south there. Otherwise, it's a typical traffic commute this morning in the DFW area. As we look at Houston, right? Houston looks pretty good. I mean, this looks normal. The loop looks pretty good. Again, always 10, a problem on the eastbound direction, Katy. And then also here on the tollway, you've got a little bit of a problem as you approach the loops coming into Houston. 610, again, looks pretty good, except up in the north here where 45 comes down, but 69 is usually a problem. Not this morning till you get inside the first loop there, the tollway. So again, we're looking pretty good in Houston, really. Not a lot of red going on this morning. I was reading an article here on the 610. I believe the bridge that goes over that causeway is one of the, is I think up a designation as the most needed work in the state of Texas. It's one of the most dangerous bridges right now. It does not pose an imminent danger, but it's one of the most used bridges crossing the causeway. So again, as you go on to 610, 45 also a problem. As we look at Kansas City, not too bad, right? Kansas City usually is pretty good. Looks really good again today. The only little teeny area is down here on the southern part of the loop by Lee Summit at that merge point. So be patient there. Otherwise, you look pretty good as you come into the Kansas City area this morning. As we look at Chicago, 80-94 crossing the Indiana-Illinois state lines. Both directions look great. 55 coming up from the south, as does 80. 80 looks good. New Lenox, Mokina. Also 55 up here at Plainfield, Bolingbrook. All looks great. 88 coming in, Aurora, Naperville. You look good this morning. As does Elgin and Schaumburg. And the 94, 294 as you come down from the north. Also looks good. The loop is absolutely clear. And just a little bit of a problem here on the 294 as you come down. But otherwise, you got a great commute in Chicago area this morning, everybody. As we look in Atlanta, right? Usually our hot spot, our trouble spot. And it's no different. The southern part of the loop, folks, that's where you got to go. If you're coming on 20, which I hope you are, as you head east or west, take that 20 loop. Remember, you have to take the loop unless you deliver inside, but stay to the south, because if you go north, you're in trouble. Again, we have 20 on the east or westbound direction, all the way from Lithonia, Georgia to the 285 merge point. You're going to have some backup, and then you can see both directions right here in this corner here by Pine Lake, but you've got the northbound and the southbound directions all the way around to 20 the other direction. And again, as you come in from the west heading east, you've got a little bit of a backup here past Route 6 into the loop. And as we look at the north, right, 85 is always a problem. It is backed up past 316 this morning. So you've got a long delay there as you come southbound to the loop, as does 19 having a problem this morning. So Atlanta, folks, you got to be patient. And that's pretty much true every day in these cities, but especially in Atlanta. Man, if you're coming through there, always, always pack your patience, increase your space, yield that right away. That is so critical with this kind of traffic. As we look at Nashville, right? Wow, 24 looks pretty clear coming up here. Usually extends way up there, just a little section. Looks like there might be an accident since it's dark red there. That's going to be just north of Sagefield maybe. So you've got a little bit of a backup there, but all in all, the commute looks really good on 24. It's not near as long as usual with the orange and red. We have the typical 40-24 merge point. The difference is it's usually right here. This 40 in the westbound direction all the way to the city has a problem this morning. And our normal 65-24 merge point up there to the northeast of the city, you got your typical backup there. 40 looks great. It's been an issue last week for a couple days. Both directions look good on the west side of the Nashville area as you approach it. So, again, we look pretty good on Nashville. The loop is clear. Let's look at our D.C. area. Again, coming up from the south, 95 got some issues, right? Potomac Mills, Woodbridge, all the way up to West Springfield. 65 or 66 all the way out to Fair Oaks, to Idlewood, right to that merge point. Again, we've got the dark maroon, so probably an accident there as well. Your 495 loop looks pretty good, really. For always a trouble up here at the north part of it. So, but we look pretty good on the DC area. Just that accident maybe on 66 as you come in. 95 and 295 connecting to Baltimore. 270 even looks good. So you've got some good travel connecting to the Baltimore and the DC area. As we get into Baltimore, again, just the normal spots up here at Pikesville, Parkville. You've got some delays, normal traffic. And then we got a little problem on the eastbound direction here on 70, all the way back from 32 to the 695 loop. But the rest of it looks really good in the Baltimore area this morning. As we go to Philly, we had a lot of issues in New Jersey last week. It looks a little bit better this morning. Again, you can see Belmar, Haddonfield. That's going to be your big congestion on the Jersey side. But 295 looks really pretty clear. Our typical 95 along the river is backed up. The 76 is backed up all the way to King of Prussia this morning, as is the 476 from Marple Township down. Again, if you're going around the city, you need to stay up here on the 276 and go around the Philadelphia area this morning. Indianapolis, again, looks really good. Just normal commutes. You got the little slowdown as you approach the city. Not much there. And then again on the south corner on the loop, you've got a problem here right at 65 merge point. But 70 looks good both directions out by the airport. All the feeders, 74. 69 going up to Fort Wayne, Indiana looks good. As does 74 come from the south in your Indianapolis area. Hey, we look at our weather. We're going to focus. We've got some strong storms again. It's that time of the year, but we also got some wind gusts. So we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit. They're already starting. They're going to start to kick up around 10 a.m. in the Pennsylvania. You can see New York, maybe even along this I-81 corridor coming out of Tennessee through Virginia, and then watch out here in Arizona. You see a little bit of the wind in California already, and as we go. There you go. So you can see Pennsylvania, when we touch on here, right, we're looking at 47 mile an hour gusts potentially. So there's probably going to be some commercial motor vehicle bans. We got problems here in Vegas, right, Nevada, Arizona, the Flagstaff area, Los Angeles. Again, this is around 2 p.m. And so let me show you what the current conditions are so we can kind of see. Not real bad right now. So again, these are forecasted to pick up as the day goes by. 5 p.m., you can see really a lot of that D.C. area, New York, New Jersey, all going to see some wind. More Nevada, starts to push into Utah. The I-40 coming from Flagstaff to Albuquerque, going to start to be affected in Arizona. And then as the night goes by, it gets real spotty. Clears up on the northeast, and we just have pockets all around New Mexico and Arizona. But tomorrow, folks, we're going to look at your commute. Your commute looks great tomorrow for the wind, but around 10 a.m., you can see Texas, New Mexico starts to get hit up there in Montana, and then there you go. So by 2 p.m., right when we get in that noon area, you can see New Mexico, right? 40, 10, the panhandles going to be affected all the way to Oklahoma City. Dallas going south, you're going to have a corridor there. The 45 could be a problem tomorrow. And then going southern Kansas, again, as we look at it. And we look at 5 p.m., they don't die down. They actually get some darker, lighter blue. And so when we touch on these, you're going to see probably close to 60-mile-an-hour gusts. There you go. 63 potential. Again, this is forecasted. So again, tomorrow we could see some really, really strong winds. And that's going to bring in some severe weather, as we'll see a little bit later. Now, these winds they do subside a little bit, but they're still dangerous at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And at 2 a.m., we still have some pretty strong winds. Either way will require some really slow, big reduction in your speed. And you can see tomorrow for the commute, you still have the problems in the panhandles, up 287 and in western Kansas. So we're going to have some issues for this wind. As I show you the thunderstorms, again, let's get rid of all that. You can see a little bit of snow today in the Pennsylvania area. It's not supposed to be much, maybe 1 to 2 inches somewhere up there, but it could be enough to just make your traveling a little bit dangerous, require some speed reduction. You can see by 6 p.m. it's all but gone. Then we got some rain, snow in the upper elevations, just, again, not a major system. But tomorrow we want to see, you can see it moves into Denver. Again, the temperature is supposed to be in the 50s tomorrow in Denver. So as this comes through, we're talking the extreme upper elevations in all likelihood for the snow. Otherwise, it might be a little bit of rain and some storms. St. Louis, this is at 1 p.m. tomorrow. So as we look at 6 p.m., right, you can start to see the line starts to form. And again, remember we showed you the winds yesterday earlier for tomorrow. They're right in front of all this storm. And as you can see Tuesday, around 10 p.m., it gets really bad in southern Kansas, moves into Oklahoma City, starts to move in Dallas. And then by 4 a.m., you can see Oklahoma City, really that dark red. You can see that line stretching from Kansas City to Dallas. So again, we've got the potential for some very, very strong thunderstorms starting late tomorrow afternoon. And then as you move into Wednesday, look at that. It gets worse. Look at that long line forecasted from Illinois through southern Missouri. That's going to be right on that I-44 corridor. And you can see Arkansas, Louisiana, Houston, right? Really intensify tomorrow as it moves. And then, wow, 7 p.m. So again, we got to watch out for the tornadoes. It's that time of year, folks. We just got to be mindful of it. New Orleans, all the way up into that I-70 going east and west through Illinois. So you've got a major, major headache running right through the center. And again, when we look at them wind gusts, there they are. See, they're right there with it. So you can kind of see that leading edge, right? The winds are out in front of that trough that funnels right through the Arkansas, Illinois area. So you can see we're going to have some wind and some strong storms just like we did last week. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and be right back with some more safety.
welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Joined now with us is we're joined by the great Buckle Up Bob, and we're going to talk a little bit about not just turning, but turning safely.
That's right. We all have to make turns every day, but we want to do it safely. It's been about 8 weeks since we've talked about this, so we kind of always want to come back to it, make sure that it doesn't start to pop up out there. And we're going to start with the first one is the right-hand turns, right? And Drive Safe Dave knows a lot about this, but there's two ways, and they recommend don't do the jug handle, which is swing so wide at that intersection that you allow traffic to squeeze in on your right and become a hazard. You kind of want to start, you do drift out a little bit, but then you kind of make what they call the button hook, and you make sure the lane is clear on your right when making the right-hand turn, and you do a little loop and then back into your lane after you complete the turn. That is what they recommend as the safest way to make the right-hand turn. Right,
Dave, you agree?
Yeah, and I personally, I like to mix a little of them both. You put it a little bit on you squeeze your lane out as much as you can on the lane that you're in without leaving it, and you do the button hook. So I like to mix them up a little bit, just
So mix a lot here.
Yeah. So if one says it's unsafe and the other is safe, you mix unsafe and safety?
No. Because if you just do one,
then it becomes somewhat
then
safe.
it becomes somewhat safe.
Somewhat safe.
No, I like to mix them up a little bit, and I'm sure every driver out there tell you to combine the two makes it a little bit easier. Instead of swinging way out into the oncoming lane, you kind of minimize both impacts of both. So
that's a great point. I think that's the thing to make is, hey, give yourself the room to make it safely, but don't give yourself so much room that somebody can squeeze on the right on the direction you're in, and then also make sure you've got enough room that lane is clear to when you take a little bit of both lanes as you complete the turn.
I will tell you that probably one of the most difficult, whenever I would do a driving test for somebody, I'd really like them to do 3 right-hand turns consecutively, just so that I can see them operate a right-hand turn, because it's one of the most difficult turns to do safely and properly, as opposed to the left-hand turn where you've got all the view out the left-hand window. But remember, you're blinded by that right corner, you're blinded by that spot down there, and you can't see along the curb line real well. So I think the right-hand turn is probably one of the most difficult turns.
Yeah, and I want to encourage all carriers out there, always look at your driving test, right? There's ways, the industry, it's getting more crowded out there on the highways. There's more turns, there's more businesses, there's more areas that maybe weren't designed for trucks at the beginning. So you really need to review your process with your drivers and how you're training them on these turns, because they are becoming more prevalent in the accidents.
Yeah, big believer when you're setting up a driver for that driving test. You know what? Make it a set route. Go back and create the route that also takes care of the right turns that you want, backing, all of these things, so you can get an idea of that new driver coming onto the company, to make sure there's not areas that maybe they need just a little bit more encouragement, help on as well. So I'm going to encourage you once again, if you don't have it, hey, create that routing for your driving test, for your road test, for new drivers coming on. Buckle up, Bob. We got some videos?
We do have some videos, some great videos this morning to learn from. We're going to look at this first one, the patience, right? Now, this looks pretty innocent, and you don't think there's a merge point. But then another vehicle is going to make a merge point. That's not really there, folks, but great job. Look at the space this driver has that allows this to happen, but to do it safely, right? That is so critical. And again, another vehicle. This happens all the time when you got traffic backed up. People just drive through the median and create a merge point that isn't usually there. Here again, great space and speed, and then the courtesy. We talked last week especially, about aggressive driving. Yield the right of way. The best decision and attitude you can change in your driving to prevent accidents is to just yield that right away and let them in. Great job by this driver. Here again, get the big picture coming in, and we've got, I can't tell if this is an emergency vehicle or what, but again, looks like it wanted to turn left and then says no, can't make that little U-turn. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but great job by the driver. This is why speed and space is so critical. I mean, this driver can react to almost anything that's going to happen.
Yeah, it almost makes it non-eventful because of the space he has, right?
Yes, absolutely correct. Great job. Here again, just, as we come up, getting the big picture, and then all of a sudden traffic stops, right? Now, it looked worse as well. I was like, uh-oh. But at the end, you could see the road between. So the driver was in control, it looks like, pretty good here. Make sure that, hey, when you see something, you start to gain quickly, make sure you're on the brakes a little sooner just to help give yourself that space. But all in all, great job here.
Yeah, when you have to stop on the highway like that, it can be very scary, especially for the people. But if you're distracted in this moment, this can be a whole lot scarier than the situation that you're in.
Yeah, and again, if you're following a truck, somebody too close, and they take a long time to react, you've just reduced your ability once again. It's why you have to have the space in there. If you're tailgating the vehicle in front of you, the big truck, you really can't see what's in front of the truck. That's why we try to emphasize, the importance of not following too close that big truck in front of you, because you can't see what's going on in front of that truck. And if that truck takes a long time to react, hey, guess what? You may not have enough time to react.
And again,
passing on the right.
Yeah, kind of cut in there at the end. Again, it had some time. You could see it coming. Hey, we see stupid out there. You always hear Drive Safe Day say, let stupid go. And so just want to remind everybody, hey, when you see that coming, you see these bridges coming, make sure you brake and yes, protect life no matter what. Even when they're doing something stupid like this, you've got the bridge coming up. Just make sure, again, can't tell, just want to make sure that we do brake and let them get in a little sooner just so that nothing bad happens. But that is just really stupid.
They probably have to probably get to the grocery store. It's probably really urgent that they got to go get some Twinkies and get some Cheetos.
How dangerous is that for that truck to be doing what they're doing right there, passing a truck? But it's a soft shoulder right there, right next to it, Dave. I mean, you're taking a chance on life right here, losing control, including all the debris that's already in that area, right? I mean, it's just.
You're already seeing kick up some of the debris in the area. I mean, you have the opportunity to damage your tire, lose control, roll, flip. You got no escape. You're right between it, and then right ahead of you is a guardrail coming right up here on the bridge. I mean, there's really very little room to react and to be safe about it.
Yeah, you have about 4 seconds. I mean, that vehicle passes this truck at 21 seconds, and at 25, you're up on that guardrail. That's the critical part here that you just don't realize. It looks like there's plenty of space, but 4 seconds isn't a lot of time where this could have been a whole different outcome.
That truck's got to be doing 85 or 90 miles an hour. That's just crazy.
I wish you could take a picture of those and send it to their mom, dad, their spouse, to them, to the local
their
police
mom,
department, something like that. Well, it doesn't make any sense. You know what? You want somebody that can make an impact. Somebody needs to see this video of the moron passing on the right.
Yeah,
they just need to see that.
And this one, this is unbelievable. We talk all the time about how intersections are dangerous. This is the first one I've seen. By the way, it's red, and you can see the two trucks run the red light. And so this driver stops. And this is just, I've never seen it both directions. Again, white, okay, you prepare to stop because you see the other ones running the red light. And then it's going to turn green here. And you're going to see at least, there's green, there's one, there's two, right? Two more vehicles running it the other way.
Box truck.
Yeah.
Straight truck.
I mean, it's just crazy. Folks, when we say these intersections are dangerous, they are the most dangerous place on the roadway, and you see it right here. These two trucks are going to run the red light. And then after this direction turns green, vehicles are going to run it from the other direction.
Wow.
It is just horrible. So, folks, you got to.
This intersection this just might be one of those intersections that is always dangerous, right? I mean, people just don't care, and you're driving.
That's the great point, guys. That's what I see. It's like, okay, when they're doing it from all different directions, do people just don't even care at this place, right? It's probably, you're right, dangerous every single time.
Man, I mean, you just have to be prepared for everything when you're driving the truck. I mean, you got to be prepared to not go on green. All right, you've got to be prepared for the moron passing you, the four-wheeler on the right-hand side. You've got to be ready for all of these things, and even to look up ahead and have that ability to stop. We saw a lot of different videos today that really shows, to me, great focus on the driver. We've seen a lot of patience from the drivers on these videos today. That's critical in what you do. Practicing your patience. That means you're going to keep that space. You're going to look at their situational awareness. You know, being aware of where you are at that light. You just saw two big trucks, rock trucks, bowl through the red light, and then you wait and you just feel something's going on. And once again, you have two more vehicles run the red light the other way.
Yeah, and those straight trucks are dangerous because those vehicles don't necessarily require a higher certification license.
Correct.
So you've got an average individual out there running around in a vehicle they truly don't understand, albeit most of them, I won't say all of them, but most of them truly don't understand their weight class, don't understand the danger, and don't understand how much power is behind that momentum, that mass times velocity when they're running around there, especially when they're flying through an intersection with it red.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes just the opposite. Like you said, they're in a smaller truck, and so they don't think of themselves as an 18-wheeler, but they also still think of themselves as a regular vehicle, that they're going to be able to stop, that the weight and stuff behind them isn't affecting them like a big rig, and it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Jack, if we have any questions, comments from the listeners out there, give us a heads up so we know. Buckle up, Bob. I will say over the weekend, I think it was Saturday, you'd have been proud of the listeners. Sir Rick kind of baited him a little bit, chummed the water, going on a left-hand turn, driving in the wrong lane, where I just kind of said, I think it's okay. I mean, they really didn't do anything too bad on that. And the listeners went crazy. No, they were right is wrong, wrong is wrong, or right is right, wrong is wrong. You can't, one bad move, one illegal move doesn't justify the next one. Couldn't be more proud of the listeners, Dave. They wouldn't, I tried to sell them on it too.
No.
And they didn't buy, they didn't bite into that at all.
No.
That is awesome. I am glad, because you're right, man. And we've seen a lot of times where one bad decision leads to another one. The tailgating is the most. You tailgates, then you make the quick lane change. Then you have to hit the brakes. It's just dominoes sometimes out of there when you're not practicing them safe driving habits.
All right. Hey, Drive Safe, you want to close us out with a prayer?
Yeah, dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today on this Monday to ask for your grace in all things. Father, give us the ability to go out and do what needs to be done. Do your will upon the world as you see it. Father, give us the strength today to be a little bit different, a little bit better than we were ever before. Give us the ability to be safe, be kind, and considerate. And help us to understand how important not only we are, but how important everyone else is out there on the road. Help us to be safe, and help us to know what to do each and every moment. Put your hands on the steering wheel for us. Help us to make those great decisions. Father, also keep our drivers and everyone around them safe today in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We ask all these things in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And we want to remind you to be safe out there. If you're sitting around and you're wondering, what can I do to be more safe? Hey, check us out on YouTube. They're recorded on there. Go to your LinkedIn account. Follow us on LinkedIn. There's so many ways to get your ability, your safety streak.
And we have a lot of interviews from the TCA up there that if you didn't get an opportunity to see them, they're out there, they're posted. There's some great interviews, and especially you might want to check out the one with Glenn, who won Driver of the Year.
One of your peers, only on BCB Live.
The safest station in the nation.